Today I'm going to show you how I mix high gain guitars in Cubase. You may know that I'm currently working on my next album, which is called The Lazarus Effect. Please check out the songs which are already available, especially Clowns in Robes and The Lazarus Effect, the title track. You can find it on my YouTube channel and Spotify. And I got many questions regarding my last record, which is called like Ecstasy, especially about the recording process, and I decided to put out a couple of videos. So I put out a video about the drum programming, about my interface setup. But today I would like to show you what I do with high gain guitars. Get a kick-ass sound. And let me open my DAW for you. I'm currently using Cubase 12 and it's here. And here we have a song which you heard in the beginning. With the title Virgin Love Affairs. And yeah, here we have the chorus. And as you can see here, these gray and green tracks, it are all guitars. Down here we have the bass, the pink track, of course, bass is pink, as always. And here we have the VST and MIDI tracks, which are the drums. And here the yellow and orange things are the vocals. So if we are looking just on these tracks, here we have, we're starting with the green tracks, which are the main rhythm guitars. And as you can see, we have two. So one on the right. Here it's pan to the right, 100%. The guitar left is pan to the left, 100%. And if we look at the tracks, it's nothing there, as you can see. Not even a low or high cut, no EQing, no effects. And it's sent to the rhythm guitar bus. Here on the left side, it's the same. And so let's check out the rhythm guitar bus here. And as you can see, it's also not nothing happening here, except that I'm using a low cut. And I was experimenting with that here, but currently it's deactivated. So usually I boost a little bit of these frequencies if I found the guitars to be lacking a little bit of, they need a little bit more fatness or thickness. Because these frequencies here, they're usually around the 120 Hertz, they usually thicken up a guitar tone without it getting too annoying. And one of my mixing principles is that I usually focus on the frequency spectrum in between 100 Hertz and maybe 4K or 5K, because most of the speaker systems, they don't address the frequencies below that or above that. So if people are listening to the music on their headphones or on their car stereos or wherever, if you do something around the 80 Hertz, maybe you will get problems suddenly if someone is using a sub, but you don't hear that on the typical car stereo. So anyway, that goes for the whole mix. And yeah, here as you can see, I have a high cut at 5K, which is maybe something you didn't expect, but Makes a huge difference. And of course you cannot say use the 5K always as a high cut. It depends on your mix and on your other instruments. And also of course on the slope here. Right, if it's cutting off suddenly everything or yeah, so you have to experiment with that. But for me, I think of the guitars as, especially the high gain guitars, of something that is mainly in between the 100 Hz and 3K or the 4K. But the frequencies above that, they're usually important for other things. For acoustic guitars, for example, but also for cymbals, for everything that should be in the foreground. So especially the vocals. Because if you don't hear the vocals in a song, it's really annoying. And most people, especially non-musicians, they don't care about the rest if they don't care about the song if they cannot hear the vocals clearly. Vocals is the most important thing. So, and here, if you cut everything above 5K, then you have headroom for the vocals there. And also I found the guitars to get a little bit scratchy, especially on very small speakers like car systems, where you have these small 2-inch shit or something. And usually in the car you have the background noise of your engine, and then you raise the volume and it gets annoying in the ear. So I ended up with that. That is maybe the most important thing for my guitar mixing process. The other thing is you want to have an even output volume. And to achieve that, I'm using a limiter, which is limiting everything that goes into this. So currently you're hearing only these two rhythm guitar tracks. But if you listen to everything which is here on that track, maybe we could start here in the intro. The fact that I'm limiting here on the bass, on the rhythm guitar bass, everything that goes to the bass is it's contributing to this input volume and then cut off. So also if there are suddenly 4 tracks, the output will be the same volume like if there are only 2 tracks, like here, or 3 in this case. Anyway, so. Of course here, as you have only this annoying track, it sounds a little bit strange if the other music is not there, but anyway, it's below the threshold. So here you don't have these -7 dB output volume, but as soon as the other guitars start, it's more or less always this output. And here, it's still around that. And in the chorus, here are a lot more tracks. As you can see, here are 5 tracks currently. They're not all high gain, but they all go to this output. All go to this bus, and you're still limiting at -7 dB. The thing with the limiter is, if you limit it too drastically, for example, set it like that. You can see here it's cutting off way more of the input volume than raising it, and although the overall output volume seems to be similar, it's it's distorting the overall signal, and you hear this distortion, or if you hear it, then I'd recommend to raise the input threshold and also the output threshold, the output volume then, because it will compensate that. And this limiter here, by the way, the waves limiter, is by far the most accurate and the best limiter which I know of, or I was using. And usually I try to cut off not too much here, because with distorted guitars, or if you don't have really clean guitars, usually you won't hear that distortion which is produced by the limiter to a certain degree, but sometimes you hear it if you got a very busy mix of very many guitars playing at the same time. And that is also something, the distortion is usually in the higher frequencies. So if I'm listening again on my car stereo, then I hear suddenly it's scratchy and distorted a little bit. And that is not the natural distortion from the guitars, it's coming from the limiting process here. So yeah, that's what I do here. And let's have a look at these other guitars here. That is one trick which I also do if I have additional guitars, not the rhythm guitars, the main rhythm guitars, but something which is a little bit less audible but creating some background ambience or noise. I am cutting off these guitars way more with a low cut here, as you can see, around maybe 200 Hertz, even more sometimes. The reason for that is then it doesn't get in the way with the thickness of the rhythm guitars, but you can still hear these things. This track sounds a bit thinner then, but yeah, that's no problem. Also, I'm limiting here on this track. And the reason for that is this guitar track is more or less clean or light crunch tone, and these clean tones, they have way more dynamics. So these rhythm guitar tracks which I showed you before, they are high gain and they are compressed already by the high gain, by the guitar amp. It's natural compression, and you don't need to limit them by themselves. But here you have a track which is very dynamic, and you can see that also here in the waveform of this track. Now you have these peaks, huge peaks here, as in the usual rhythm guitar tracks. It looks more or less like a sausage, German sausage in this case. So anyway, yeah, the cleans, I'm limiting each track by themselves, but nonetheless I'm sending them also to the rhythm guitars. And this thing is also in the center here, because I have only one track playing this little figure. As you can see, it's in the center. Yeah, cutting off. And I'm sending the signal to the guitar delay bus. So I have one delay that is for the guitars, which I'm using usually on leads, but also sometimes on these little extra things. And thing with that is, or the benefit of using these distinct guitar delay tracks, of course you can put delays on each track, but here you can control the overall delay for all guitars. And as you can see here, I have a time-based delay, ping pong delay, which is nice. You can hear it's going from left to right. My settings are usually I'm experimenting with that, but here I have the 30%, and that is, yeah, it's some value where I end up very often with. Also, I'm using a high cut and a low cut here on the delays. I recommend that. If you want to get more of a background ambience and not that much of the original signal, then I recommend to, or if you want the delay to stay in the background, I recommend to use the high filter here more drastically. If you set it here, the delay is more subtle, maybe. And of course, I'm setting it to 100%, so this track is, or here is only the delayed signal coming. And what you can see here are the automation tracks. I don't know if I used automation on the guitar delay. I think not that much. It stays more or less the same in the whole song. But here we have the automation track for the vocal delay. As you can see, I can show you what happens. The victim of this circumstance, my ex-chemical romance. Here, this fader goes up. Why you quench my thirst for fire, my subject of desire. I can't get any higher, oh yeah. When you're on the street, I know. You can see it went up here, so that I wanted this OER to be repeated and audible. And yeah, you can create these automation tracks here just by using this write function. And then you can adjust it on the fly while the song is playing, and then it will be stored here, this automation track. The same goes for the guitar delay, although I think I don't use it. Here it's still at 0. And yeah, you have only the effect here. And yeah, the guitar tracks which they are sent to this this delay. Here we have a phaser chorus guitar. Where do we have it? And that is something, as you can see, same thing here with the low cut, sending to the delay here. By the way, here you can set the amount of this signal which is going to the delay track. So if you want to have some guitars more delayed or some guitars less, then you can yeah, set it here on the distinct track. Anyway, this is a phaser guitar, and I'm using also a limiter here because it's no high gain thing. And yeah, of course, this is a mono track. As these guitar tracks, they are all mono, but they're sent to of course, a stereo bus. So here I can use the mono limiters to save a little bit of CPU. But the thing with that is, usually I'm recording the guitars dry without anything, reverb, delays, what else? Chorus maybe. But of course there are some things which you have to put in front of the amp, and like the wah or the phaser here. So in this case I have to record the guitar with the effect engaged. So in this case I used the phaser from my AxeFx, recorded the track with the phaser. I don't record the dry guitar signal, which you could do for reamping, because I found myself to get lost when reamping, because it's a little bit of work to bounce every track with a new guitar amp, and then you're listening, and then it's tiring. I personally like to work and make everything perfect until it's perfect, and I don't leave it at something. It's I'm recording and then it's done, so I don't have to care about that track. And fortunately I have the settings in the AxeFx which work really well together with this mixing setting, so usually I don't have to adjust much. So I don't record the dry guitar signal, but usually everything without the or the DI signal. Of course, the guitars are dry as far as the effects are concerned. The only exception is the effects which are in front of the amp, of course, like the phaser. And what else? Well, very important are also the leads. So here we have the solo. As you can see here, using a low cut a little bit higher. And I'm also limiting here this track. The reason for that is this track doesn't go to the rhythm guitar bus, it goes to the main output. So I can adjust the lead guitar volume and the, I don't know, in this case it goes to the rhythm guitar, sorry, I was wrong. I was confused with the vocals because the lead vocals go to the direct output. Okay, it's going to the rhythm git. So yeah, usually the thing with the solo is I want every note to be audible at the same volume. So I'm using an additional limiter here. It's arguable if you need it. You can try not to use it, but in some cases maybe if you're having much coming from the other tracks, then the overall limiting on the bus is maybe yeah, killing the notes of the solo, and you want the solo to be in the foreground in this case. But here, so on the main solo, it's the same sound like the rhythm guitars. I sometimes boost the 4K a little bit, but the reason for that is that yeah, I want to have this solo line stick out a little bit more. But that depends on the song and especially on what the rhythm guitars are doing. So in this case, I did it. Here I applied also the high cut, which can help, but as you saw before, there's the high cut at 5K on the bus, so yeah, this doesn't do that much here. One thing which I forget to mention is this track down here, which is guitar middle. Usually I pan the rhythm guitars strictly to the right and the left, as I said before, but usually I record one track in the middle in addition and then add a little bit of that. Sometimes only a little bit, in this case quite a lot, I think. Also, you can see here it has its own limiter, and also this low cut here. That is something it gives the rhythm guitars a little bit more body, I think. They're a little bit more in your face then. But you can experiment with that. And as I said, sometimes I only need a little bit of that track. In this case here I use quite a lot. Or not that much, because here, as you can see, I'm limiting it. So it also works that if this track sounds completely different. There's also something which I like to do a lot, is play something completely different in the middle on this track. Here it's more or less the same. And usually what I do when recording rhythm guitars, I use more or less the same sound in most cases, but I play things usually in different positions. So as you could hear, maybe this left track, more or less power chords in the low register. And here I'm playing something a little bit different with the chord shapes, the higher chord shapes. So yeah, I recommend to experiment with that. Don't play everything in the same position, and that will make a big difference. Even if you play, for example, a G chord, if you play it with a bar chord or with open strings or a power chord, it's all different. But if you played, recorded different tracks in different positions, then it will sound much fuller than if you're playing the same thing, exactly same thing, twice in the same position. So yeah, I think that is everything which I can tell you about my my recording process regarding high-gain guitars. My setup here in Cubase, mostly limiting, but of course you have to get the right sound in the AxeFx. You don't need to EQ it, and of course you have to adjust the other things to the guitars, then it all works together. Hope this helps you to get the best out of your mix, and yeah, post your comments below, subscribe to my channel, and see you soon. Goodbye.